The New York Giants get their first win of 2024, a 21-15 decision over the Cleveland Browns. We're going to give you the highlights, the takeaways, and everything in between coming your way next here on the Locked On Giants podcast.
You are Locked On Giants, your daily New York Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Today's episode of the Locked On Giants podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Hello, New York Giant fans, and welcome to another edition of the Locked On Giants podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast family, your team every day. I'm your host, Patricia Tran, a credential member of the New York Giants media for Locked On, as well as for New York Giants on SI, which is where you can find my written work. And as always, welcome on into my Blue Crew community members, to my everydayers, my newcomers, everybody in between. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with us here on the Locked On Giants podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, please consider subscribing to the channel. Click the little bell so that you are notified every time I post a new video. And if you wouldn't mind, like the video. It all helps with the algorithm. And those of you who listen over on our audio platforms, if you have time and are so inclined to do so, a 5-star review is always appreciated, whether you're on Apple or Google or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. A 5-star review is always appreciated. And on today's Locked On Giants podcast, leak! That's right, folks. Malik Nabers, the Giants, they win their first 2024 game of the season, a 21-15 decision over the Cleveland Browns. And Malik Nabers, oh my gosh, we're going to talk about him on the show. We're going to talk about the defense, and then we're going to have some additional takeaways. So just a happy recap. And I'm so excited because it's been so long since I've talked about a Giants win. And I hope I remember how to do it. I hope I'm not too amped up here, but if I am, hopefully you forgive me. You know, it's been a while. So anyway, let's get into it. Giants 21-15 over the Cleveland Browns. Folks, let's start off with Malik Nabers. I mean, gosh, what else can we say about this kid that hasn't been said already? Well, once again, Malik Nabers was the most targeted Giant receiver on this team. Targeted 12 times, caught 8 balls, 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. Versus, by the way, a very good cornerback. He went up primarily against Denzel Ward, who is a multi-Pro Bowler, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not like, Malik Nabers was going up against some, ordinary guy or, just another guy. He was going up against quality because that Browns defensive secondary, very good. And Malik Nabers still found a way to get it done. And just an amazing performance by the young man who seems to have success with the in-cut routes a lot. I mean, I think the majority of his yardage came on those in-cut routes. And you can already tell that he and Daniel Jones are so comfortable together playing pitch and catch there. And wow, what a performance by him. Now, over the last 2 games with Malik Nabers, he has caught 18 of 30 pass targets, 205 yards, 3 touchdowns. He is the youngest player in NFL history with at least, with at least 20 receptions, 250 receiving yards, and 3 touchdowns in his first 3 games. And that is according to NFL research. But you know what? Here's the thing that you got to like about Malik Nabers. After the game, he was asked about his drop last week and if it was still kind of bothering him. And before I give you what he said, I always have a philosophy or a saying that if something bad happens to you or something, if you face adversity, how you respond really tells a lot about what kind of person you are and your resolve. All right. Now, some people, if they face adversity, they'll just curl up into a ball and kind of wait till things blow over and, then maybe they'll come out of their shell a couple of days later. Some people, when they face adversity, they get angry and they do something about it. All right. Whether it's, coming out swinging or correcting something, whatever the case may be. In Malik Neighbors' mind, last week, his drop pass in the game against the Commanders, that bothered him. That to him, you could tell, was a big, big sticking point for him. So what did he do? He went out. He worked his tail off in practice last week. And he said, I ain't letting my teammates down again. And what did he do, folks? He didn't. He didn't let them down. He came out. He had a solid game. We'll see if he gets nominated for, he'll definitely get nominated, I would think, for Pepsi Rookie of the Week again, which would be his third such nomination in as many weeks. But I'm curious to see if he gets nominated for NFC Offensive Player of the Week, which would not surprise me given how well he played. But you know what's interesting about Malik Neighbors and the game that he had against the Browns? It was the one play that you won't see in the box score that really, tells you all you need to know about this young man. All right. So I'm referencing the play in which Daniel Jones, I think his arm got hit and the ball came out of his hand kind of funny. And it was close to being an interception. It was actually a contested ball. And the Browns defender almost came down with it. Except Malik Neighbors had enough common sense to turn himself into a defensive back and swat the ball away. Thereby preventing an interception that might have been run back for a touchdown. It might have been a pick six. So Malik Neighbors bailed out his quarterback on that particular play. And that was the play, by the way, or one of the many plays, but that one in particular, that head coach Brian Daboll was absolutely thrilled with. I mean, he was singing the praises of that particular play and how smart and how alert Malik Neighbors was in making that play. Because if he just sits there and, kind of twiddles his thumbs and does nothing, that's a pick six possibly. And we have seen instances where, in the preseason, we can go back where I think there was one particular game, I want to say it was the Houston game, where Malik Neighbors could have done a better job going up for a contested catch. And, it fell to the ground. I think that was one of, I can't remember if that was the interception or not, or the near interception. But the point being is Malik Neighbors, you could see that he's learning from his mistakes. He's not making the same mistakes that we saw in the preseason game, that we saw in the first two games. He's not making them over and over and over. And this kid, only 21 years old, he is the star, the guiding light that this offense has needed for forever. He makes everybody around him look better, including his quarterback, the offensive line, everybody. That's a lot to put on a 21-year-old shoulder. But this young man taking it all in stride. And the cool thing about it is he doesn't have an ego. He's very grounded. He's not a prima donna, which is nice to see. I mean, some receivers can turn into prima donnas. And he's all about, if I'm not doing my job, I'm not happy. And how can you not respect and love that if you follow this team? I mean, it's wonderful to see, I think. All right. Now, coming up, we're going to talk about the defense. That's right, folks. The defense had themselves a pretty good game. We'll talk about what they did a little differently and how it all played out right after this. Hey, Giant fans, if you're like me, there are just some days when you either don't feel like cooking or going out, or you're craving a particular cuisine and you just don't have the time to get it. Now you don't have to worry thanks to DoorDash. DoorDash offers hundreds of restaurant, grocery, and convenience store options, and their team of professional, courteous drivers will bring everything right to your door. I'm a regular DoorDash customer, and getting what I want or need is as easy as opening up their app, finding the restaurant or store that has what I want, and then placing an order. DoorDash gives you estimated delivery times, and you can even track your Dasher on their interactive map. But don't take my word for it, though. Give DoorDash a try and get 50% off up to $10 when you spend $15 or more on your first order with the promo code LOCKFALL24. Again, that promo code is LOCKFALL for 50% off up to $10 on orders of $15 or more. Promo is not valid on orders containing alcohol. Alcohol is only available in select markets. Must be 21 and over to order alcohol. Please, if you're ordering alcohol, drink responsibly. Additional terms apply. See the DoorDash website. DoorDash, your door to more. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Locked On Giants podcast. I'm your host, Patricia Traina. And as a reminder, Giants have Thursday night football this week, so it is a short work week for everybody. So the schedule for this week, obviously, we'll have shows every day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Well, actually, today's Monday show, but Tuesday, Wednesday, our crossover show with Marcus Mosher of Locked On Cowboys will be on Thursday. We will drop that on Thursday. And then, of course, on Friday morning, I will probably do the recap since it's a late game. And, I'll try and get it done after the game on Thursday night, but it's probably going to be Friday morning. So hopefully it'll be a win and we'll be able to send you off into next weekend with a smile on your face. And speaking of smile, how about that defense of the Giants, the Big Blue defense? All right. Wow. First thing that we have to talk about is the change in philosophy that defensive coordinator Shane Bowen had as far as applying pressure. Now, remember, the Cleveland Browns offensive line was banged up coming in, and they had some other injuries happen during the course of the game. But you know what? Shane Bowen brought the heat. The Giants defense, according to ESPN, blitzed 57% of the Browns dropbacks, right? That is more than double the 25% that they did in the first 2 weeks. They beat up that offensive line, like I said. Deshaun Watson on the blitz was 8 of 18, 192 yards. And let me see, I believe he was sacked on 7 of the blitzes, right? So the blitz got home on 7 of the 8 sacks that he absorbed. Just a tremendous job by the Giants defense. Now, let me just get you another stat here that I thought was pretty impressive. So I mentioned the Giants 8 sacks total, 17 quarterback hits. Boy, Deshaun Watson's probably going to be feeling sore tomorrow, I would think. Really, in terms of where the pressure was coming, Dexter Lawrence with a big game. Basically, Azeez Ojulari, who had, by the way, a career game for himself. He was very active and very productive. He had a sack. Thibodeau had split a sack, as did Raheem Nunez-Roches and Micah McFadden. They all split sacks. Bobby Okereke split a sack. Dexter Lawrence had 2. Probably should have had a third one, but I think, I'm not sure why they didn't give him that third one. Just an amazing showing by the Giants defense, especially the pass rush, which was so passive, I guess, for a lack of a better term, the last couple of weeks. So it was nice to see Shane Bowen bring the heat. Now, here's the thing. You can't necessarily blitz that high every week. I'm curious to see what he does against the Cowboys. But look, there is something to be said about, blitzing and whatnot. And I think a reason why you don't want to blitz too much is because you don't want to expose the back end of your defense, which, by the way, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but it kind of fits in here. I was a little concerned with the back end of the defense for the Giants. And in particular, I was concerned with the play of Deonte Banks. Now, several shows ago, I made the comment, or I questioned whether Deonte Banks was a CB1. And some of you came down on me and you said, oh, what are you talking about? Of course he's a CB1. Folks, I've yet to see it in his play. All right. Deonte Banks, I don't know if he's in a sophomore slump or what's going on with him. Today he went up against Amari Cooper, who beat him on 2 touchdowns. Last week, if I remember correctly, I think Banks was beaten for some yardage, if I remember correctly. Or I'm sorry, it might have been the first game that he was beaten, not last week. So Banks, to me, still a wonderfully talented cornerback, but he hasn't played like a CB1. And you look at the Giants cornerback situation, and I'm telling you folks, this is going to be a problem all year long. And here's why. Coming into this game, the Giants were without Nick McLeod. Okay. Now, they also had Adoree Jackson get injured. Drew Phillips got injured. That depth, as it was shaky. Now they have a couple more injuries, and who knows if they're going to get these guys back by Thursday night. Thursday night, quick turnaround here. So anybody who's out there who says, I'm not worried about the cornerbacks, I would urge you to really think this one through, because this is a concern. Now, there's, I don't know what they can do at this point. There's nobody obviously on the street that they can sign to beef things up. Could they make a trade? I highly doubt that would happen, only because, look, if a team had a cornerback worth trading, I don't think they would, they would part with it. And I just don't think the Giants, would make that deal. So the Giants will probably have to grin and bear it as we go through the rest of the year with the cornerback situation. But I can almost guarantee you that cornerback is going to be a top priority next off season. It has to be. They cannot go on like this. They don't have a CB1, a true CB1. Banks may develop into that. I don't know, but all I know is, going back to the tail end of last year into this year, his play has not looked like a CB1. And you kind of want to see him take that next step and play like that. Now, maybe he will. We'll have to see. But right now, you gotta sit there and you gotta say to yourself, geez, can they get through the season with what they have at cornerback? Hopefully they can. But all right, coming up next, I have some final thoughts on what this victory does for the Giants moving forward. So don't go anywhere. Hey, Giant fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more, all on the very same page where you place your bets. And right now, you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to download America's #1 sportsbook. The new Locked On NFL is here. Locked On NFL is now 2 shows every day. First, the madman Tyler Rowland kicks off your morning with a double shot of NFL espresso. Then stop by the barbershop for a visit with Tony Wiggins for some real NFL talk. Add in the Locked On local experts and you'll get unprecedented NFL insight, hot opinions, detailed breakdowns, all in 30 minutes or less. It's the new Locked On NFL, and it's twice a day. Make the new Locked On NFL your second listen on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Locked On Giants podcast. I'm your host, Patricia Traina. And in this segment, I have a few final takeaways that I want to share with you. The first one that I want to talk about is the Giants' attitude in this game. Now, what do I mean by that? After the game, I think The Athletic had it first. They talked about how Jason Pinnock, the safety, said that the defense and the team in general just went into this game with a bleep it attitude. Okay, I won't say the word, but bleep it. You guys can probably figure it out. Now, why is that worth mentioning? Because I kind of got the feeling that the first couple of games, the Giants were a little wound up, maybe a little too tightly, whereas they were trying not to make mistakes. They weren't playing loose and free. And by kind of throwing all that out the window and saying, oh, bleep it, now it's like, we'll go out there, we'll play our style of game, and whatever happens, happens. It's a dangerous, attitude to take, but it can work in your advantage. And it did this time around for the Giants. They just said, you know what, we're just going out there. We're going to just be ourselves, play our style of ball. It's not going to be perfect, but we're just going to go out there and do it. And sometimes that's really the best approach. And it seemed to work this time around for the Giants. So that was certainly nice to see the Giants just go out there and play all loose and whatnot. Now, the other thing I want to mention, again, I am in no way comparing the 2024 team to the 2017. But if you remember, in 2007, the Giants started out 0-2, and they looked like absolute garbage those first 2 games. And then they turned it around to win the 3rd game. And then they went on, to make the playoffs and, of course, win the Super Bowl. I don't think the Giants are there yet, but I kind of see the after effect that this particular win had on the Giants as almost being similar to what happened back in 2007. And what I mean by that is, when you put in all kinds of time and you don't have the results at the end of the day to show for the time that you spent in meetings and practice and taking care of your body and lifting weights and doing all these things that you need to do, that can be disheartening. When you have something to show for it, that can make a big difference in the overall attitude and mindset, not just of the individuals, but of the team. So I mention that because, a lot of people were like, and myself included, I'm guilty of this as well. A lot of people were like, oh, the Giants are starting a tough 6-week stretch, and the Browns, who last year had a pretty good team and who this year have a pretty good defense, the Giants will have to be lucky. All right, the Giants, by playing loose, now they picked up confidence. It's like, okay, this is how we win. We can do it. Our methods, our work, it paid off. So now it's building confidence in them because, look, they've got a tough matchup on Thursday night against the Dallas Cowboys team that lost 28-25 this week. All right. Right now, I can tell you, without even looking at any odds or anything like that, I can tell you right now that the Giants will probably be an underdog. And you know what? I hope they go out on Thursday night and they play and they say, bleep it. Because look, that's what they need to do. You need to play loose, play your style. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. They're going to happen. No game is perfect. We saw, imperfection in this game, for heaven's sake. And just let the chips fall where they may. So I think, and I kind of got the impression that the win today over the Cleveland Browns has reinflated, if you will, the Giants' confidence in themselves and in what they are doing. And I haven't looked at the standings yet, but right now I'm pretty sure the standings are kind of knotted up a little bit to where there's still plenty of football to be played. And if the Giants can play like they did against the Cleveland Browns, then why not them? So that's something, certainly to keep an eye on as we go through the week. Now, there's one more thing I do have to mention, because like I said, the game wasn't perfect. And I hate to bring up the imperfections, but I've got to ask the questions because maybe some of you out there know the answer to this. After seeing how Eric Gray did not work out last year as a kickoff returner, the Giants have gone right back to him. And of course, we all know what happened this week. He had the fumble. And then 11 seconds later, it was 7-0 Cleveland. I get what Brian Daboll was trying to do. It's like, okay, if you screw up, we're not going to go, we're not going to give up on you. We're going to go back and correct it and give you another chance. But my gosh, how many chances are you going to give, Eric Gray as a kickoff returner? He's just not a natural for that. And I just didn't understand that move. I really didn't. Maybe, We can ask Dable about it tomorrow when he speaks to the media. I don't know, but I just look, if it didn't work last year, what made you think it was going to work this year? Maybe the Giants just didn't have anybody else. I don't know. I don't know the reasoning for it, but I just sat there and I'm like, why? You know? The other thing, and this is such a minor nitpick because Myles Garrett did not have any sacks, but I didn't think Andrew Thomas played as sharp of a game as he normally does. Now, that being said, a lot of times Andrew Thomas, when he's, not as sharp, he's still better than 99% of the players out there. But I just thought there were times when Myles Garrett maybe got the better of him in terms of pressures, but not, again, the bottom line is there was no sacks. And, I noticed with those pressures, a lot of them came on wide 9 alignments, which I had asked Andrew Thomas about it this past week. And he said that is a big challenge for an offensive tackle to have to try and to block because they're just so wide out. The defender is so wide that, sometimes the way he comes at you, you'll end up hooking him and you'll get called for holding, which I believe Andrew Thomas did. So, look, I don't want to nitpick because, like I said, Andrew Thomas is by far the best offensive lineman the Giants have. I just thought today his game was just a little off compared to what we're used to seeing from him, but nothing that I would be worried about. The bottom line, the Giants got the win. They have some momentum behind them. They got a big home game Thursday night. Hopefully the game will be mostly attended by Giant fans and not by Cowboy fans. And how nice would it be if the Giants could upset the Cowboys? How great would that be? Boy, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself thinking about it, but wow, would that be something? But we'll see. Got a week to go through still. So, all right. That is going to do it for this edition of the Locked On Giants podcast. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, spending part of your day with us. Don't forget, check out Locked On NFL with the madman, Tyler Rowland, the barber, Tony Wiggins. Those two dudes keep it real. They're just two of the best guys that you can ask for as far as listening to general NFL talk. And I know you will enjoy the program with Tony and with Tyler. 2 separate shows. Tyler in the morning and Tony at the latter part of the day. So, all right, Giant fans, that'll do it for me. I will see you tomorrow with an all-new episode of Locked On Giants.